So the West Coast adventure starts, and the opening, it's now the Hyatt, but I think it was the Merlin Hotel at the time. Do you have lost all my brain cells? Look, I thought it was pretty professional. It was very new for an AFL, VFL-listed club.
I recollect a couple of memories on that night. We actually got caught in the lift downstairs, and we couldn't get out of the lift, and we actually started panicking a bit, a few of our players, and eventually we did get out. And that was a bit of a funny sort of side of the actual inaugural night.
Okay, away we go. The start of the season then for both these sides. The start, a piece of history for the West Coast Eagles.
It was classic, the first ever game of the West Coast Eagles, the inaugural game against Richmond. It was an amazing feeling just to run out at Subiaco Oval. Ross Glendinning, our hero, sort of leading us out. We all grew up idolising him.
The highlight really was not only getting those blokes together, but running out in the first game against Richmond, because you saw the fruit of a lot of work.
Yeah, the coach, which was Ron Alexander, gave us the debriefing, but it was mainly about building a pathway and going out and enjoying the football and bonding together, and all that pre-season we did, all that hard yakka, not having a football club. I think that day we did establish something. So as soon as we ran out there, I think we were relieved.
I was sitting on the bench next to this little fat chubby kid called Chris Lewis, who was only 17. I'm looking at him going, how did we get here? What are we doing here? And are we good enough? And so we started on the bench, Louis and I.
It wasn't that disappointing not to play. I understood the selectors making the wrong decision, not including me. I was one of the real young members of the squad, and I was hopeful of maybe getting a game, but with some of the big names there, understood not breaking in for that first game, even though a couple of my mates about my age were playing, in Chris Lewis and Paul Pios.
And we did feel like pioneers of this great football club, which it is now. So, and to be part of that sort of pathway, as I said, was something that I cherish dearly, and always will. And even though I played with St Kilda, I played more games with St Kilda and less with West Coast, but I still cherish the West Coast Eagles Football Club.
It was an amazing game for the club, and I reckon it kind of set the standard for the club, because we were actually, I think, about 33 points behind at three-quarter time, and it's our first ever game at Subiaco Oval, the inaugural game of the club, and the boys just steeled themselves and said, right, we're not going to lose this game. And guys like Phil Narkle and Don Holmes and Ross Glendinning and John Annear, they just lifted.
We were actually behind at three-quarter time, and Ron gave us a big speech about the same old thing again, about character and who we are, and we're representing Western Australia as well as the West Coast Eagles Football Club, and then three-quarter time we went into the fourth quarter and we kicked 9 goals and ended up eventually winning the game, and that was the first game we won for the West Coast Eagles Football Club.
And we won. We won our first ever game, and it was a tremendous feeling, and just to know that we belonged in the AFL and that we could dish it up and serve it up to some of the good teams.
But it was great to watch. Obviously it was an exciting game to storm home over the top of Richmond and win our first ever game was brilliant.
But winning the first one was great, so that's a ripping highlight, and having a couple of shots of the team running onto the ground, getting the game started, being behind in the last quarter and coming good and winning by 30-odd points. Yeah, it's a good little story, I think.
We went on to win 11 games that season, 11 games in our first season, so it would have made the 8 probably, if there wasn't 8 in those days. There wasn't, but if there was. The only funny bit was that despite winning 11 games, the coach actually got the sack, which was a bit of a surprise to all of us, when I don't think they realised how hard it was to win 11 games in the AFL, but we're basically on our way. We're on our way to a premiership, and everybody knew that if we got the right support network in there and a few more players, that we might actually win a premiership in the short term. And of course, 5 years later, we won a premiership. So yeah, it was the start of a wonderful, the start of a fantastic club.
Remarkable scenes at Subiaco Oval. Try as they might, the policemen will lose this battle. Ron Alexander smiles. The crowd spilling onto the ground. A remarkable scene will be seen here in just a moment.